You will certainly recognize our next guest. He is crossing Canada this summer, asking a very patriotic question. What Canadian film and television made you? It's part of a campaign from Telefilm Canada. Joining us now is George Stroumboulopoulos. Hey George, pleasure to have you with us.
Hey Matt, good to see you today. How are you?
I'm good, I'm great. Talk to us about this campaign. What's it about and what are you looking for?
I think so much of the Canadian identity has been defined by what we're not. And so much conversation has been had. Think about how 2025 started with Canadians all up in their feelings, trying to figure out what is the Canadian identity. And of course, this was sort of thrust upon us. And it raised some very interesting questions like, what is the Canadian identity? My favorite part of that is that there is not just one answer. And as you know, the human brain is heavily, heavily connected to story. We've constructed these narratives in our lives. And I think what's amazing is that we are the lead character in our own life. And then when you meet somebody else and your paths intersect, well, that's when things can change and become pretty special. And story is a huge way of doing it. Canada has a long history of great storytellers, not just musicians, but filmmakers, television makers. And if we're being honest, Matt, and we can be, long before Canada was Canada, the history of storytellers on this land. So it's been really fun to go across the country and connect to Canadians to find out, what did you watch? What helped make you who you were? Like, I'm not the same person if I didn't watch SCTV. There's no way I'm this guy if SCTV. What was yours, Matt? What did you watch?
Well, for me, and I'm not just saying this because you're on here, but Much Music was huge. I'm a 90s kid, right? So late 90s, early 2000s, I was always on. And of course, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Two older siblings, had to watch it with them. And I still talk about that show with my parents.
But I would figure, because weren't you like a really high-level swimmer? Like Nadia Butterfly is a great film. I would have imagined that that would have been inspirational for you as well.
It's a fair point, but I picked up swimming when I was about 8. So Are You Afraid of the Dark was like 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to ask you though, you know, you mentioned what's going on this year. It's really timely, right? Everything that's going on with our neighbors south of the border. You've been talking to people. Are you noticing a change in people's Canadian pride?
Huge. What's interesting is that it's not so much Canadian pride. Definitely that exists. But I think Canadians have had the luxury of not having to think about it for a long time. I think Quebecers know this all too well. Quebecers know what it's like to fight for your culture and to lean into your culture and to value your culture. I think a lot of Canadians haven't really had the need necessarily to do that if you've been here for multiple generations. There's ways of immigration that I think make this country pretty special. And what I'm noticing is that everybody has their own thing that they connect to, but there are some universal themes. The amount of people that have talked about The Littlest Hobo and its impact on their sense of adventure. Much Music has certainly come up a lot. Shows like Schitt's Creek have come up a lot. Films like Incendie have come up a lot. Really powerful films. Crazy, the late great Jean-Marc Vallée's movie, North of 60. The impact that a show like Little Mosque on the Prairie had. We were just on set in Alberta on the Heartland set, one of the, if not the longest running 1-hour drama in Canadian history. So you're finding that we all have our own unique connection to it, but a handful of these shows kind of transcend. We started out west and are making our way east. I know that by the time we get to Prince Edward Island and get on the set of Anne of Green Gables or Anne with an E, people are going to freak out. That show meant an awful lot to them too.
You know, it was interesting you brought up Quebec culture there. What's your expectation? I mean, you're in Montreal now. What's your expectation when you're going to be speaking with people?
The lucky part is I don't approach any of this with any expectation. I actually look at this like an explorer. I look at this like, in a way, an emotional archaeologist. Like, let's dig up the bones of who we are and let me see what you think of this. We don't have a thesis. That was the whole thing, that myself and this whole team, we didn't come out on this journey to tell Canadians what makes us. This is the question. Who made us? Who made you? And it can be anything. You can have your own connection. So with Quebec, it's neat because obviously it's an own insulated culture in many respects. But I think that narrative does a disservice to Quebecers because Quebecers like us are influenced by all kinds of things. We are all the same country in our own version. So the Quebecers experience, the people from Saskatchewan's experience or British Columbia, Indigenous experience, Inuit experience, the Inuk experience, all very different. And I don't walk into this with any expectations, but just the kind of joy of discovery of finding what we have in common, but also what separates us. And I think for myself and this team, and maybe this has been my whole career, I've never been afraid of what makes us different. I actually think that's what makes this country so wonderful. A country to me is just a promise of a thing we could be. And we can only get there if we're actively telling our stories and actively reminding each other that we see each other. And that's not like some hippie view of the world. It's just, this is the most, I think, sustainable way to move forward. And story just happens to be the way that I've connected to Canadians. And I have to tell you, it's been very nice to meet so many Canadians, Quebec as well, where they talk about the impact that Much Music had on them, or that Red Chair talk show that I did at CBC. But it's pretty apparent that Canadians miss a communal gathering. And one of the downsides of the on-demand world is we're not doing it together. And when we would, the amount of people who told me they'd run home and turn on Much Music after school to see what we were doing, to catch that next video, we were doing it together. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
I just want to ask you real quick here, I know we're going a little over, but what Canadian movie or TV made you?
There's a movie made by a director called Michael Dowse, who lived in Montreal, called It's All Gone, Pete Tong. You wouldn't even know it was a Canadian film when you started watching it. And that's what I thought was so progressive. It was just an amazing story. Crazy, and I miss Jean-Marc Vallée. He was an amazing guy. Crazy was really big for sure. It's All Gone, Pete Tong might be my favorite. And Fubar. I mean, who are we without Fubar? I think those are Trailer Park Boys. I mean, let's just keep going, Matt. Cancel the rest of the show. We had so many shows.
Wonderful. George, it was great speaking with you. We look forward to seeing the rest of the project. Thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.